Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This is the series of interviews that I do with certified CNVC Center for Nonviolent Communication trainers. And in these interviews, we are talking about the personal journey of each trainer and maybe some projects they're working on and how they're seeing different aspects. And I have so much inspiration and so much variety of different views on NVC from these interviews. I really enjoy them and I hope you enjoy them too. And I know for sure that this interview would be exciting because I'm doing it with a dear friend, Frank Eschler, with whom we met in the work on virtual intensive course in Europe that was in November 2020. Oh, wow, it was more than a year ago. So, and we did a few projects afterwards with Frank. It was absolute blast. And I really love, Frank, your energy. And I love the ability to turn almost everything into joke. And our chit chat just before this recording is one of examples of that. And I'm so happy to be recording this interview with you. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you, Natalia. I'm also so happy to be with you. And I said it before, but I have this big apology for not answering your email immediately. And so I answered yesterday. I think it was 2 months later. And I'm so happy that you still like me and that you still want to talk to me. Whoo, thank you.
Yeah, it's been a rough journey to get in touch with you. I'm so happy that you finally agreed to do this and found time. Thank you. And yeah, I said a few words about how we met, but I know that your NVC journey started quite a few years ago, and I'm curious, how did it start, and if you are willing to share what brought you to NVC? Why did you start practicing it?
It was all my wife's fault, actually. It wasn't me, it was her. Um, because yeah, my wife Gundi, she was offering parenting courses, not based on NVC, it was based on the work of Thomas Gordon. And she was offering it because we have children, we have two daughters, and at that time she wanted to learn more about how parenting works and stuff, and then she decided to offer workshops too. And by this, she one day she learned about the book of Marshall Rosenberg, read it, was really enthusiastic about it, and went to a workshop with Klaus Karstedt in Germany. And yeah, she came home and she was really excited about NVC, tried to use these 4 steps on me, and I was like, no, don't do it. Because, we are, Gun is a psychologist, I'm a social worker, and when we had conflicts, we were not really talking about the conflict stuff itself. So we kind of started to talk about it, and after a while, we started to talk about that you made some grammatical mistakes in that you did something wrong in the way of communication, so that you were not using I messages, you're not talking about yourself, you're talking about da, da, and you should say it like this, and so that I can hear, so stuff like this. And so that was our usual kind of battlefield that we had, and deciding who's better in communication. And of course, it was always me, and she had a different view. I don't know why. And and then she came with NVC, with these 4 step stuff, and I was like, aha, something new. So one of those new thingies. And but when she started with this, I found there is something in it, something kind of strong. But my idea was, she's now using it against me, like a better weapon than the others. So I immediately stopped it and I said, "No, you don't talk to me like this." Uh, and and she, luckily, she said, "Yeah, okay. So I'm not using it with you, but I will do it with the kids." And so I watched this, and the funny thing was that my conversation was so much more effective than hers. So when I told them to brush their teeth, to tidy up the room, to make homework, blah blah blah, all this stuff, they did it. They functioned in the way I wanted to have them function. But afterwards, they went to my wife crying and talking about how daddy was. And I was like, why am I want to be the good daddy. I want to be loved and stuff like this, you know. So I found there is something in it. And the way she was talking to them was different and more connecting. And I got jealous about this and also a bit curious. But of course, I was not able to say it. I was like, um, so it's like, what's the English terms? I think I didn't want to lose my face because I said no to it. So I was like, how can I do it now? And so she was reading Marshall's book, and so she was laying in bed reading the book, and I just had to wait a couple of minutes. So she slept in, and I could take the book secretly and read it. And I found there is something in it. What I liked is it is not really scientifically. It's not something like somebody wants to persuade you of something. It's more like it's a bit like storytelling. So I found it was okay. It was interesting, and then Marshall Rosenberg, he came to Munich, and we had the chance to see him. So we went there, but I was still like, I don't know. and and yeah, we went to him and watched him, and it was. I know there are a lot of people who like whenever they saw Marshall the first time, they were like, whoa. Not me. I was more like, okay, and interesting, but not like whoa. But then we had the chance to in the evening to go out for dinner with him, and by chance I was sitting like next to him, and and the first thing was I was like expecting how he is, like, you know, there's this American guy like a guru coming, and he will probably, I'm not sure if he will eat anything, like he probably will kind of just use the sun for energy or drink green tea or stuff like this, you know, one of those guys. But we went out, and he had a proper Bavarian meal. He was drinking beer actually, and I was like, "What is this guy? He's not how I expect him to be." And so he didn't match to my patterns. I didn't have any patterns really at that time, but gurus never met one. But I thought this is one. So I asked him, "How is it to be a guru?" And he was like, and this just came out of curiosity. It was not offensive. There was nothing like a judgment about gurus, because I think, oh my, he's a guru. How? Of course he is. But his reaction was different than I expected. He was looking at me, and he became really really sad about this question. And he said, "This is not angry, but like sadness." And he said, "This is." It's not what he wants to be. He doesn't want to be a guru. This is what people make out of him. Uh, and so he told me what is the desire for him behind nonviolent communication. And he was telling me about the people, the families he's reaching, and the the kind of the effect that people um, are feedbacking him. What is the change in the family system and so on. And so it was nice. And then the next day, so the workshop continued, and when I entered the room, he told me to come, and then he showed me a kind of a folder with photos of families of children from all over the world, and he said this is why he's doing this. And that was really, really touching to me, because it's connected to a deep kind of need inside me to, I would call it something like to save children. Um, Not to save them from the parents, because it's not like parents are bad or schools are bad or teachers are bad and we have to save them uh, like this. No, it's more like to there is this in my understanding there is this soul inside us, no matter how old we are, and this is the kind of this child in me or in you, and um, mm, to save them from pain, from suffering, and and hearing Marshall was something touching in me to see, wow, there is a maybe there is a glimpse of a possibility to do something, to heal something, and what I didn't know at that time, to heal something in me too. And so that was my first real connection to NBC. And yeah, so we kind of continued in this. We yeah, we've been to Marshall, we've been to some other trainers. We went to the Munich network about nonviolent communication, met a couple of people there, and then Gundi decided to go to a train the trainers workshop, and and again I was a bit like, this is very expensive, and if she goes and if we go together, that would be really expensive. And the kids were small, so how do we do this? How do we have babysitters? Blah blah. But I had a talk to Gundi about this, and she was saying, look, there is so much in this NVC stuff that if she would go this way, without me, there will be a kind of a gap that's getting bigger. It's not that she wants to kind of to be yeah to separate or something. It's more like if she's growing and developing something and I would stay where I am, and I know myself, I'm very lazy, I wouldn't move actually, um, then something would change between us. So we kind of made it happen that we can do it together, and and this was a real turning point to learn about NVC, to really step into it, and yeah, to widen this horizon. And then we went in 2004. We went to the first summer festival in Denmark. There's a European summer festival since that every year. Kirsten Christensen, Carsten Carstensen, and so there were kind of the creme de la creme. I don't know if that's what's the English word for this. So they're kind of all those people from Europe with these names in NBC, you know. And we met together, and we've been on a huge place, and doing dishes together, and cooking, and beautifying the toilets, stuff like this. It was really fun. And that was really like, wow, there's a kind of a world behind this thing, a community, and yeah, so that was the kind of the starting point.
Mm. Wow, thank you for sharing, Frank. I really enjoyed how you explained it. I saw the story going there from making for being made to practice NVC and having huge resistance inside you, then realizing that this is something different, how you can connect with your kids. And
Mm.
then meeting Marshall and realizing that there is a maybe bigger goal of connecting to the child inside me and inside you and inside every person, no matter how old they are. And
Yeah,
then also seeing the community part where you see that there is so much of belonging to these people and so much fun in co-creating and doing things together. Really enjoyed this part that yeah, you explained to us. Thank you so much for sharing this. And yeah, I heard that it was starting with connecting with your wife Gundi and with your kids. And I know that you have connected so much that you have wrote a book about it, how to do NVC with kids. And there is this project that is called Giraffe's Dream, and it's a book by Frank and Gundi Gashler. And I think this is your daughters on the
Yeah, these are
yeah,
the
and this is the two of you on the back. And yeah, I did not finish this book yet. I'm working on it. I'm reading it right now. And I'm wondering, because I didn't finish it yet, I don't know the answer to this question. So does it help? Does it create the peaceful and serene environment in the house where you don't have to fight ever with your wife, and your daughters just listen to you, whatever you say, that there is so much peace? How does it work in the family of two NVC trainers and two NVC trained kids?
there's just love everywhere, every second. And the kids are standing up every morning and praising the parents stuff. No, no, it's not like this. Um, I would say our relationship is quite alive in like probably like everywhere. We have our traps. We have our old patterns going on. We have our communication stuff going on every day in our way. Um, but still, there are some changes, and they really celebrate. Like um, when we have conflicts, I would say the time that it takes until we can kind of trust each other again is is not that long as it was. It's getting shorter. Um, I also I have this. I call it a book, and in this book, whenever another person like my wife, whenever she does something wrong, that I put a like a stamp in it, and and then we have these things, the secret thing, of course, and so at one day when when there is something coming up again, I secretly take this book and say, yeah, but you said 3 months ago, la da la da 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 da. And so this is a very old pattern I have, and like having this revenge book for whatever you did, and you said 5 years ago. I remember. I'm sure you said this, and this is how you are, and these are still working in me, but less than before, really less. And so we are kind of, yeah, I would say in a lot of things getting easier into connection again. Um, and still, my patterns are quite old. When I see my daughters, they're much better in NVC than I am, and they kind of they just took it, and they're not into four-step things. They are much more into this life thing. And I remember one situation. I was in the kitchen, and was standing there on my own and cooking, and I was really pissed because I was like, uh, so the whole story in my brain was, I always have to do it. Nobody's interested in me. I have to do the whole stuff. Everybody else is just using da da, and I'm the uh, what is it? The servant for everybody. Blah 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 blah. And I was really and yeah, and then my daughter came around. I think she just came back from school or something, and so she just came around and saw me standing like this, and I saw her, and the first thing I said is, "Oh wow, it's nice that you're coming that late. I have to do all the la 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 la, blah 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 blah, all this stuff," and she looked at me and she said, um, "Oh, Daddy, are you not feeling good?" And I was like, what is going on here? I mean, I was like like pumping and saying I really was in this angry, offensive mood. but she didn't take it as an offense. She took it as an expression of me being really in pain, being alone actually. And so she helped me to find out that what I really need is community and just feeling alone. And I would not be able to find this out, not in this situation. I was so much in my stuff, but she easily took it and she easily just said, "Oh wow! So if you need community, I just need to go to toilet and then I'm back and I'm sitting with you and we're chatting." And that was amazing for me. And seeing this, yeah. So I'm learning a lot from those situations, um, and and of course what I learned, or what I think what we all learned in is not so much to like to react earlier. So it doesn't make any sense to wait until you burst. Um, but if there is something triggering, then maybe to say it earlier and to on a stage when you still can kind of handle it. But it doesn't work all the time, but more often than before, I would say.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I really loved hearing this story about you and your daughter and how she was able to connect to something very important for you at this moment, that you were just being lonely and probably you were not realizing it for yourself at this moment, but she figured it out. And yeah, I also heard that even though your family is well trained in NVC, it doesn't mean that you don't have a conflicts, but
No.
you it just takes a shorter time to reestablish trust in relationship. And I love this part that, yeah, sounds so beautiful. And yeah, I really recognize the book where you take notes about who said what. We had this today with my partner, uh, who did what when. And all this book is in here, and this remembers very well. Like every instance when he was not acting to my joy, it's all very well written and yeah, like clustered and kept very neatly.
Yeah.
Um,
And I also would say that, I mean, meeting Marshall, I met Marshall a couple of times. And I remember one situation when mm, to see him really as a human being. There was so not like a kind of a holy giraffe or whatever. It was just a human being. And there was a situation. He was in Munich and he had a discussion with Isolde Teschner, who's kind of the old lady, or who was the old lady of yeah, of German NVC. So the first time when Marshall went to Europe, that was on her invitation. So she was, and she also was my assessor. So they had a discussion, and I was just witnessing what they how they did it, because I was like, how do they do it? And so they were talking about 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, I went to them and asked them, "Come on, guys, can you just try at least 1 out of 4 steps if you're talking to each other?" And they looked at me with this face, and I'm like, "Okay, do whatever you want." That was fun.
it sounds like a lot of fun to tell Marshall Rosenberg to use 4 steps of his own model of nonviolent communication.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that you are getting all this experience and you're internalizing these ideas of NVC a lot in your home, but I also know that you're working professionally as NVC trainer. And I heard about, I mean, this book says about this project, Giraffe Dream, and it's a project for preschool institutions. And I wonder if you still work with this project and what was it about?
Um, yes, I do work with it. It's um, Yeah, since we're coming from these parenting trainings and being parents, that was kind of the first, yeah, entering place where we are, uh, where our trainings landed. So, and in the very beginning, that was 2006. In this train the trainer scheme, we designed the format of this project, and it was just the idea was just to bring it in our kindergarten, like in the kindergarten of my younger daughter, um, just to offer them a yeah a project about how can you be with each other, how to avoid violence, something like this. And so we started this, and it's about the project is about there's a giraffe baby coming into the kindergarten, and the kids are kind of playing with the giraffe, of course, and learning the giraffe language, so that if the mother will come back, then that the baby can speak to the mom. And so they are learning this giraffe language, and through these through the four steps, and then the mother will come and she will stay in the kindergarten with the kids, and she's talking about her dream that kids are yeah that they are listening to each other, that they are able to talk, to tell them what they really need, how they feel, what they need, and that they find a way to have ease with each other, something like this. So this is kind of the part of the program, and but the main part, of course, is not that the kids are learning it. The main part is that the adults, the teachers, and the parents are learning, are connecting to NVC, because it's not so much how you teach NVC to kids. It's more about how you live it, because they learn from what you show them and not what you teach them. And it's not so easy to learn this kind of, it's not just the language, it's more the whole idea behind it. Because what teachers, when you, like, if you have kids, and they go and tell you, yeah, he does not let me play with him, or he's like, he said, I'm not your friend anymore, something like this. And then what parents or teachers usually do is, yeah, come on, just go there and ask him if you can play with him again, like this kind of conflict solution. But if I ask myself, how do I, an adult, solve my conflicts? I'm not coming to you and tell you, come on, Natalie, can we play again with each other? Can we have a barbecue with each other? No, I have my book. And wait until you come and and play all these tricks. And so, yeah, what we do in this program is to bring NVC in particular to the teachers, to the teams, and so that they have a foundation where they can to show how this really works with the kids, and then teach them, and then learn from them, and so on. And the program, yeah, it started in 2006 and or 2005 with the first kindergartens, and it was in the beginning, it was in Germany, but then it came with a book. The book was in Germany, and then it was translated into Korean, Polish, Dutch, English, parts of it in Bulgarian, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and probably some other countries too that I don't know about them. And so the program is spreading, and it's probably the I guess the biggest NVC program in preschool, and in also in first classes of school in Europe, and probably in the world. So it's really yeah. So there are loads of, and we're doing these programs in all different kindergartens in all over Europe, and we also have multipliers. So we have a program that people can learn how to do it and bring it into the kindergartens or into the schools and so on. And we have about 250 multipliers now, who are bringing it into their own kindergartens or as trainers going there and bring it to the kids and to the parents. Yay! Yeah, I really celebrate this.
I'm really, really celebrating how this program grows, and yeah, I'm amazed hearing how many languages this book is translated to, and that
Yeah,
with the book goes the program. And I really love the idea that it is scaling up. That it's not only you and Gundi who can teach now, but also other people who can teach and bring this to different parts of the world and different communities.
yeah,
And I'm really celebrating that kids are starting learning about connection to their feelings from
mm,
the kindergarten. The previous interview that I recorded was with Aga from Poland, Agnieszka Żółwca-Packa. It's still quite difficult for me to pronounce. And yeah, we were talking about how we learn to hide our feelings, and we learn that some feelings are okay to show, some feelings are not okay to show, and that it takes some time to unlearn these things before we can learn how to communicate openly. And I imagine it would be so much easier to unlearn when you're 5 than when you're 35 or 55.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, part of the program is, I mean, we have this giraffe and jackal language, as you know from Marshall. But when we teach NVC to children, we don't use the jackal because we do not want to teach them something uh, that they don't know yet because they learn it from us, the jackal language. They don't have it in them, so we support them in staying with this giraffe thinking and instead of seeing the other part. This is adult stuff. So we as an adult have want to get rid of these ideas, not the kids.
Mm. Wow, I never thought about it. That yeah, jackal language is something that we learned over years with all the bitterness and pain and disappointments that came our way. And children don't have to learn it. Actually, they can just learn giraffe language straight away. Yeah.
Yeah, and they are much more curious, and they are not as complicated as adults in thinking, and they are not kind of mm, all these messages that we are thinking like, Natalia, now you look like this probably means that you think that I am and I should do, but now you look different, which means probably that you want to tell me this and that, but you don't tell me because you think that I blah blah blah. So this is not child thinking. This is not even my thinking. But it's like, this kind of complicated thing. This makes it so difficult. And the result is I will not tell you anything because you already think that I would think that you would say that I say blah blah. Whoa.
that sounds that sounds humorous, and I can recognize it so well that I heard it so much inside my head that I know definitely that you're thinking this, and that's why I will not tell you, because I know that you want to only harm me, and you do it only to teach me a lesson, and I will not speak to you because I don't want you to teach me, and yeah, so on and so on. So it can go on so much.
And
um,
and it's your fault that I'm not teaching to you. This is the most important stuff of it.
I mean, it couldn't be my fault that I'm hurting, right? It needs to be somebody's fault.
But if
Um,
you would change, then I may give you another chance.
yeah. I'm smiling, but I'm hurting inside because yeah, I recognize it, and I also recognize how this language is not supporting in my relationship, and
Yeah,
how I can learn different.
yeah.
And yeah, thank you for sharing about this kindergarten program. And I wonder, you said that you're working a lot with the parents and with the kindergarten workers who would actually be translating this to kids. And I'm curious if there is any other current project that you're working on, maybe more targeted at adults or maybe more targeted at kids.
Yeah. When I said this is the main part, but there are of course other parts too. So I'm working with I also work in companies and I work in different places, and and what I love in also on trainings like on international trainings is to to leave this part of NVC is about using words so much. I love on looking behind this, on going to the nonverbal language, going into experiments, and going towards NVC that really works in places. So one of the things, one of the the workshops I very much love is working with combining nonviolent communication with the work of Auguste de Boal, the Theater of the Oppressed, which is a method to learn how to change something, to go into social change actually, by trying it in a safe situation, so that you're like, what would you do if you see like a mother who's really, yeah, you go into a supermarket and there is this little child crying and all the time, yeah, and the mother is really at the end of her ability to react as she would probably like to do, and maybe she's even like very close on beating the child, and you pass by. So what would you do actually? How would you intervene, or would you just look at her, or would you shout at her, or would you beat her, or whatever? So you can try this, and of course you can use NVC, which is helpful instead of shouting on her, and so you can try it. How would that work? How and by doing this, by practicing it, we learn skills. What would we actually do if we would see it in a life situation? And so I love bringing NVC into action in this way. So it's not that NVC is just inside the seminar rooms and we all love each other and we all hug each other and life is wonderful, and outside there is the bad world with the bad shackles. And this is not, it's not sustainable in my eyes. It's nice, it's beautiful, and it's connected to such a huge longing for so many people. And on the other side, I would like to contribute to change. And this is for me one way of doing this. And that's why I also go into, yeah, work with a lot of other people to support change, not just to teach something.
Mm. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I'm hearing that you're working with the corporate trainings as well, and different training rooms, and you use this role play or real life examples, how people can check how they can use their skills that they're learning in NVC. And you're saying that you would like to contribute to the change, and I'm curious, what is the change that you would like to see in the world? What is your dream? What are you working towards?
Um, I think my main dream is to, and I know how hard this is, but um, is to see, really to see and to trust there is humanity in each of us. Um, whatever you do and whoever you are, whatever your kind of culture you're from, that you're not like you are this or I am that, but to see this humanity and to connect with this humanity behind all this stuff, and to see, even if people are doing something that I absolutely say no to, that there is this humanity behind it, and there is this pain and longing of this person behind it, to find it different, to get it in a different way, and to support this. And so, what would be the outcome of it? For me personally, it is a very scary idea that there are monsters outside in this world. That there are monsters in all these places. This is scary in me, and I would love to have this trust that there are human beings who are reachable, who are um, whom we can meet mm, in this tenderness actually. And yeah, I know this is a dream. This is very big and very huge, but um, I'm I'm just happy if I can see it in my neighborhood actually. If I can see it in the city where I'm living, or in the country, or going over the borders sometimes. But this is really the reassurance that I get. So whenever I'm meeting people, however they are, and whatever kind of conflicts and problems they see, whenever we are working on this, where's the humanity behind all this stuff? It's such a beautiful place to see this. And and with this goes this huge wish of saving children. I remember a situation that was in Poland once. We had um, it was a workshop, and it was teachers, and there was one situation. There was a kid, and he was in the classroom. He took a pair of scissors and went to his stomach, and he said, "I want to kill myself." And or he turned to the other kids, or to the teacher, and, "I want to kill you." I was really angry, and so there was like, whoa, there's something wrong with this child, and he cannot be in the school anymore. He has to go on somewhere psychiatric, whatever. And we had this workshop about it, and it was about, I think it was 1 hour that we were dealing with this. And after this monster was a child again, and it was a child in pain, and the teacher was a human being in pain, and a helpless person in pain. It's said like this. And after this hour, she had enough help and skills how to deal with this. And this was a, yeah, and sometimes I would be curious to see how is this kid's life, how is it going now, and how would it go if there would be no change. I don't know. I mean, this is what we cannot do, but yeah, this reassures me again and again to that this work is helpful.
Mm. Thank you for sharing. And I'm really touched to hear this story, and I'm really touched to hear this dream of yours that you really just want other people to be seen in their humanness, and to see their vulnerability, and to see their pain, and to see their joy and emotions, and not to see the monsters. I know that you have a workshop that is called Dealing with Monsters, and they are not like Hulk type monsters. They are our children, our spouses, our parents, and our neighbors that are portrayed by our brain as monsters that are willing to harm us, when actually they're just lost and not able to express themselves most of the time.
Mm.
Thank you. And I also remember this, my channel is mostly for Russian speaking community. I record a lot of videos about NVC in Russian language. Today I recorded the key differentiation between vulnerability and weakness, and I really enjoyed it. We're talking about these things.
Ah,
And you did a session for Russian speaking community. It was a beautiful session. I loved it. And it was called NVC Magic Tricks. And yeah, I have kind of two-part question on this. So first part is, Can you talk more about magic and whys of magic and how to do the tricks,
Mhm.
the behind the tricks scene? And second part is if you want to say hi to these people who went to this session, and if you want to, yeah, just say something that comes to you right now, 3 months after the session, that if you
Mm.
want to say something to them.
So first of all, I would say really hello to this community. I so much enjoyed it, and I regret in the moment that I didn't prepare myself and learn some Russian words to say hello. Um, what I celebrate is it was I so much enjoyed the trust that I received, like mm, being welcomed in this community, and it was a huge honor for me to be there, and also um, we were talking about um, yeah, situations in parenting and in with couples, and um, for me it was such a yeah, this is how life is. There's no difference being with children and being with partners in Germany or in Russia. Actually, they're doing the same stuff. They're giving us every day a chance to exercise on NVC, to exercise on our own triggers, and actually they do it in the same way, most more or less. And so that was really connecting. Instead of having this, oh, there is a Russian community and I'm a German trainer. This is no, you're human, I'm human. Pfft. Unfortunately, I cannot speak a language, so this is yeah, yeah. Um, Magic tricks. What was magic? For me, what is magic is mm, first of all the magic of empathy, um, or the magic of not just or the magic of connecting. So whenever I'm able to connect with myself, whenever I'm able to connect with you, there is something magic happening. And and it doesn't work with words at all. So my first kind of magic experience with NVC was it was in 2005, I think, in at an IIT in Belgium. And I went to Belgium, and just on the way to Belgium, short time before the border, I realized, oh, people are probably speaking French there, and I'm not speaking French. And I was like, I said, okay, now we go to Marshall. He can speak English, so let's try this. And yeah, and it was a wonderful IIT, and yeah, most people were speaking French. And then there was a situation. I was in this in a seminar with Dunia Hatikemana from Rwanda, and so there was he was kind of supporting a person in the process and getting connected. And after they kind of went into a kind of a deeper space, they asked me, "Is it okay if we stop the translation because then we can kind of follow close?" And I was like, "Okay, I'm the only one here. Okay." But I was still sitting in the room watching this, and this woman, she was kind of explaining and telling the story, blah 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 blah, loads of words, loads of. I didn't understand anything, but just suddenly, I realized that I absolutely understand what she's talking about. Like not the content, but what her longing is. So people were like in this empathic connection with her, but they were following her story and kind of connecting with the story. And she was like, yeah, mm-hmm, uh-huh. And I was just saying, I think it was one word, I don't know what it was. So I just asked in the middle of her blah 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 blah. I asked her, so do you have a longing for whatever, connection or whatever it was? And she looked at me, stared at me actually, and water was kind of shooting in her eyes. And she said, yes. And everybody was looking at me, like, what is he doing? But it was so clear. That was what she wanted to say all the time. And and that was the kind of a first magic connection in this, not understanding anything. And this is whenever we can be on a workshop or an exercise or um, supporting somebody. Um, for me, I'm actually not interested in what you're saying. I'm not really listening. If I'm honest, I'm not listening. Uh, I'm trying to connect on a different level. I'm trying to mm, yeah, I'm trying to connect with the, or my unconsciousness connects with your unconsciousness on a way which is not really describable. And it's and if this kind of connection is happening, then a lot of things are happening. So we are uh, there is this kind of saying there is not easy to see if we are talking about observation, but uh, I have the imagination of a kind of a bubble where we are in. And in this bubble, the time is standing. There is no movement. There is just connection, just energy. Maybe this is what Marshall described with divine energy. And yeah, so this is where this kind of energy happens. And yeah, is this anyhow answering your question? I don't know. I was just like, ooh.
Yeah. Would you like to have some reflection to
Oh,
reassure
yes,
you
please.
how I understood? Yeah, what I heard that for you, the magic, how you experienced it, how you explained it through this story is that actually it's not listening to the words that the person is saying, but connecting with something very important for them, something very deep inside with um, some something that makes them alive, that moving energy, and that when we are connected on this level, there is a very special place around this. You explain it as a bubble. I explain it as safety, to be seen and to be accepted the way I am. And that is the magic, because there is so much tension that it just relaxes in this safety. And you don't notice anything else. And you're not bothered that way that you explained that there is no time. I'm explaining to myself that there is much less worry at this moment. And this worry is not hurrying us up to do something. Actually, it's okay to just be in this moment. Yeah, I heard you this way. How is it for you to hear?
Uh, First of all, I'm very happy that I didn't hear anything like, what is this guy talking about? So it gives me reassurance. Thank you. Um, mm, I just enjoyed it. Mm, I just enjoy that um, how how connecting with these words, and how so there come a lot of pictures up in me where I remember situations like this, and I just connect ah, with a kind of painful joy of how wonderful these connections were, and how hard it is in the moment to have them, enjoying it in the moment with you, seeing your eyes, and sometimes they're looks. I can sometimes see or imagine there is that you are touched and this connects. And still, there is a kind of a, there's the computer. There's not Natalia sitting in front of me. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, thank you. I was a few times really touched, and there was some water standing in my eyes during our interview. Really enjoyed speaking to you, really enjoyed listening to your stories. And thank you so much for bringing yourself the way you are to this call today and to our recording. And I'm really hoping that this would be meaningful for people that are watching it, and really hoping that it would be allowing you to touch upon something, maybe something new, maybe something very important for Frank that you didn't know before. And yeah, I would like to bring this our connection and our interview to closing. And maybe, is there one thing that you would wish people who are watching this interview, or something that you would like to send a message to them?
Hmm. Yeah, there's just one thing coming up in my mind about, which probably is a very magic trick. And I learned it from my wonderful wife. She's, yeah, she has so a lot of magic tricks. And one was, so there was a situation, we had our conflicts, and I was like blah blah blah, blah and she was like blah blah blah, 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 like usual. And and so we decided it doesn't make any sense to talk more in the moment. It's better that we kind of, I go in my place, she goes in her place for half an hour, something like this. And so I was sitting in my place for my half an hour, and the whole time I was like, it's her fault, it's her fault, it's her fault, it's her fault. So it's like, it was so bzzz. So no self-empathy thing. Um, and and she came back, and she had changed, really changed. And she came back, and she said, I was sitting outside, and I asked myself, what would love hear in all these words? And she said, this is, and love heard something total different that we heard by talking. And this was really new to me, having this idea of what would love hear. And when she described what love heard, uh, there was something I didn't even know that this is what I wanted to say. Yeah, that was magic.
That sounds pretty magic to me. Yeah, I'm guessing that um, there are another pair of ears that we can put on it. One pair is giraffe ears, one pair is jackal ears, one pair is like these little hearts on our hand. What would love here in our connection, and what is the real longing for
Yeah,
there? Yeah, and not trying to solve it or hear whose fault it is, because obviously it's their fault.
obviously.
Thank you so much, Frank, for this wonderful time we spent together. And I really hope to work with you more and see you much more often, and hope that you will reply to my emails a bit quicker.
Yes, I will try, and I want to see you live somewhere in this world one day.
Really hoping one day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and please do share it with somebody whom, yeah, about whom you were thinking watching this video. Maybe it would be useful for them to hear this perspective as well. And you're welcome to share as freely as you wish this recording. I'm really making it for for this uh, not guru stuff, but for this idea, this another way of looking at how we live and how we feel, for it to be heard about and for it to be available for as many people as possible. Thank you. See you again.
Bye bye. Thank you.